Toby Cryns, welcome to Breakdown.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
You and I know each other at a different capacity on another podcast, but today I'll be interviewing you here on Breakdown. For folks who don't know who you are, what do you do at the Mighty Mo?
Sure. I founded the Mighty Mo around 19 years ago. We're a Minneapolis-based WordPress design, development, and SEO firm.
There are a lot of Gravity Formers, a lot of Gravity Forms employees in your neck of the woods. Do you ever run into them at the local Starbucks?
Oh yeah. I think everybody in our local WordPress group uses Gravity Forms or has used it, at least the experienced people. I know over the years, other plugins have come in and taken some percentage of market share, I'm sure. But Gravity Forms is still my go-to. Like when people are like, which form plugin should I use? I always say Gravity Forms because I know it's going to work.
Yeah. You've been doing this for a while, right? The WordPress thing and the Gravity Forms thing. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on maybe how the WordPress agency landscape has changed, at least for you, from, I don't know, you and I probably got started around the same time, 2006, 2007, 8-ish. Global financial crisis is when I started my agency. Like that's how I remember it. How has it changed for you, if at all, over the last 18, 19, 20 years?
I think the community's changed a lot. For one, it used to be a very collaborative, high energy, people looking to make an impact in the world type of community. And as WordPress matured, it's become more of a business community. We used to get together. Our meetups used to be, let's explore this and have some fun with this WordPress thing. Look what I can do. Let me show you this cool thing. I remember when advanced custom fields came out, it blew my mind. And I remember leading a session on, check this out. Now you can just add a field and here's how you render it on the front end. And now it's more a very mature field, WordPress plugins, the marketplace. It's less interesting in a way, but more stable. Everybody know about it. I mean, I just saw Matt posted something about on LinkedIn. Matt Mullenweg posted something about the market share of WordPress and versus Adobe and stuff. And WordPress is still, I mean, might be 20x the nearest competitor in terms of sites that are started today. It's like 20 out of 100, or let's say 40 out of 100 of WordPress, 1 out of 100 is the next nearest competitor. It's crazy how big a market share it has. But I remember back when we started, people didn't know about it. They didn't trust it. I had to go into meetings all the time. And they're like, well, my guy says Drupal is secure and WordPress is insecure. I had that conversation 100 times early on.
Yeah.
And that's not a thing anymore because WordPress is now the Microsoft of the industry.
Yeah. I mean, literally every institution, every credit card company, every piece of software, every operating system has been hacked. How many times, like we're numb to it. This is a soapbox, but we're numb to it now. It's just like, oh, your data, you get that letter like, oh, your data has been compromised from, MasterCard, there's an impending class action lawsuit. You'll get 67 cents in about 14 months when the court case is over. And it's just like, I know what is security these days, and yeah, I'm right there with you with that, perception. Having said that, when you get new clients, do clients ask you for WordPress? Are they coming to you saying, I want the WordPress thing now? Do you find clients more mature now to say, okay, I understand what platform I need. Can you give it to me?
Marketing teams at organizations will ask for WordPress from me. Small businesses, never, they don't care. They're
still,
just like,
still don't know.
Build me a website. I think we need one.
Yeah.
And
checks
really,
watch. It's almost 2026. You're like, yes, you need one.
And so our contracts and our pitches are very different for those audiences. So with the small mom and pop, we're like, yes, we can design a beautiful website for you that'll work great and you'll be able to rank in SEO. That's pretty much our pitch.
Yeah.
Versus let's say we're dealing we have a new client that's a property management firm. They have a marketing team, and they're like, we saw on your website that you do WordPress. We need a WordPress website that's better than our current WordPress website, and we don't want to learn a new tool, so with them, we have a different conversation where it's like, we have 19 years of WordPress experience, and we love training people on how to use WordPress, and we know how to integrate that widget or that requirement, that calendar. We know all about that. And we know the security of a WordPress.
Well, that's good, because I remember when I ran my agency, which was just about a decade ago, ran it for a decade, but that was almost a decade ago. And I remember people just like, well, I don't even know what this WordPress thing is. But it's at least good that at the higher tier project, you're getting those requests, because before, I think WordPress really, struggled with that. And sure, it's going to have those things where people, oh yeah, I used it at my last project, but it was so slow, and or there were so many problems with it. But WordPress is a weird thing, because like the slow and performance thing could be just whoever gave you poor hosting. And if it was complicated and just not working right, well, maybe somebody just built it wrong.
And
So like,
yeah. Another thing that I've noticed recently, even for these marketing teams, they still don't fully understand that we've moved on from themes.
Yeah.
That we can now build anything you can imagine with drag and drop, basically. We'll tweak it, of course, but like, they're like, but what about, I like this, because their previous project that they built was, well, first step is to pick a theme, which is kind of the old way. And so there is that transition too.
Yeah. Are you married to a particular page builder, or do you build everything custom, or do you like to stay away from that political conversation?
Personally, I know and like Beaver Builder. I have a dev on my team who was a member of the Cadence dev team.
Oh yeah.
And so he loves Cadence. And when we bid projects, he's like, I can do this. Like, I can shave off a third of the hours if we just use Cadence, because he knows it. And so sometimes we'll do that. I prefer, as like just someone who manages processes at our company, I'd prefer one theme or one process, but it depends. Like, I also know that there are ways to speed up like that choice can impact speed and performance, like whether or not we go just core WordPress with maybe ACF in the background, or we want this marketing team really wants the ability to drag and drop. So maybe we'll use Beaver Builder. And sometimes we get sites that are Elementor. And so they're like, do you know Elementor? We're like, yeah, we know Elementor enough to help. And so we will just take those over and manage those. And we'll build new features or plugins for Elementor when needed, and that sort of thing. So.
I'm wondering if you have an example story about that kind of continuity for the business. Oftentimes, and I'm sure you see this too, especially when people are talking page builder stuff, you should be using this most, cutting edge page builder that just came out. And then 6 months later, it's like, oh, this other page builder come out. Let's go over to that one, because it has like 6 more features, than the last one. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that business continuity, because I often tell people, especially the younger like freelancers and agencies that talk to me, they're like, oh man, we got to move to this thing because look how fast and how great it is. Yeah, okay, but like 0.0001% of sites are using this right now. That same percentage of people actually know how to use it. And if you're an agency owner operating and owning the business, like you said, I like Beaver Builder because I know how it works. There's documentation. It's been around for freaking 15 years. And if I need to find somebody else to work on the team, chances are they're going to know it, or it's easy enough for me to train them on how to use this. It's great that there's this fancy, shiny thing out there, but that doesn't help my business on the continuity side. I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah. There's this real thing that's out there, especially amongst young developers. And I think it's a survival tactic, because they know us old developers aren't into the newest technology that has so few users. And I think that a lot of that narrative that you just described is put out there by them to scare, in a very like rational marketing way, to scare people into hiring them. And don't go with the old stodgy WordPress. Like, you want new, right? You want the cutting edge thing, right? And those people that are hiring don't always understand the trade-offs. And I think the argument you made is the argument I make to our clients. If anyone ever pushes back and say, well, why not the newest Laravel? I'm like, well, because WordPress, it's the argument you made. It's backwards compatible. It'll has this user base. If I suck, you have now 5 million developers to choose from rather than 10. So you have that much more availability. Its price is down for that reason. The upgrade paths are easier. The argument for me to make is simple, but the problem is I can't always get in the meeting because that scare tactic has already happened. There's a guy I know on LinkedIn. Actually, I've worked with him he's an agency owner that I used to do work with him. And I just saw, so he's my age, 46 or something. Brilliant guy and an agency owner in his own right. But he is clearly struggling with that right now. His most recent post was like, I don't do Laravel, I don't do Node.js, but consider PHP. I know that inside and out. And I read that and I go, yeah, PHP is used by 50x more websites than Node.js and what's the one that's in all the AI apps, whatever that is. And I'm just like, this makes more sense. And if you get the chance to make that argument, everyone whose ass is on the line is going to agree with your reasoning.
Sure. I see this argument, and this, is a segue because you said the magic word, and if I had a magical sound effect, I'd press the button right now. But we'll talk about the AI. I saw this. Of course, I understand what this is. It's clickbait stuff. It's marketing stuff. But I saw this gentleman on LinkedIn the other day say, like, I'm completely done with WordPress. I'm moving to a AI workflow first. And I was just like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean, right? So, and then you read what he's saying, and it's we're going to build sites with AI now because it's faster and we can do these things quicker and customers expect it, yada yada yada. But at the time of this recording, at the time I read that post, we're at the end of 2025. I use AI pretty heavily on both like the content marketing side and like critical thinking side and the development side. And I will tell you, every time you ask it to do something, I'm not rating the output, but it's different every single time. And the one thing that I can assure you is if you ask AI to build you, if your agency does, I don't know, 50 to 100 sites a year, which is pretty aggressive if you're building sites, but if you're doing 50 to 100 sites a year, I can guarantee you that those 50 to 100 sites, no matter how many instructions you give AI, it's going to be different, which means there's a different way to support that. And there's a different way to debug that. And when the customer says, oh, I want this new thing, then you have to look at it and go, is this the same way that we built it? And then add it on top of it. And I could guarantee WordPress will be the same 100 times because it's literally coded in a zip file, and you're going to plant it on 100 sites and it's going to be the same every time. And so many people are rushing for that new AI trend. And I'm like, whoa, man, this doesn't make sense from a business perspective.
Yeah. Well, and you can picture that file structure that AI produces. That's also different each time. And that's part of why it's so hard to debug an AI app, is because you go, what folder do I even need to edit? How are the variables linked? And it's different each time. Same AI app, you hit submit, it's going to redo the whole folder structure. And one advantage that you're describing, especially as an agency owner, this is not a big deal if you just manage one site. If you manage it and you don't really need support and you know how to do it and code, great, use AI. But like, our team manages over 100 sites right now on a daily basis. And without the consistency of the file structure, like when there's a plugin issue, we know exactly where to look. We know how to debug stuff. Basically, we've seen all the errors, so we know where to go, and it's well documented. So like, the documentation doesn't change over time. This error means this location. And so while I do use AI every single day, I see there's no argument right now that I see to move off of WordPress to an AI flow, like for development.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and WordPress, I don't know how much you've followed along with the 6.9 release. We can get a little nitty gritty on the WordPress side right now, but I know they're coming out with the abilities API, and a lot of the stuff that happened throughout 2025 was, a lot of preparation for what WordPress is going to look like next year and, version 7 and beyond. It's, even with that stuff coming, as exciting as it sounds, I'm still pretty skeptical. Like, do we want AI in the site as deeply as it sounds like it's coming? Like, in other words, if all of a sudden, Toby, you build a site for somebody and, their team says, oh yeah, I connected it up to ChatGPT, created a bunch of pages and it didn't work, and
Right.
then they come knocking on your door, like, it's a whole other
Uh,
support factor.
Matt, I gotta tell you, I love that scenario.
Okay. Oh,
Like,
yes, yes,
you
yeah.
just got me 100 new clients.
Yeah.
Thank you for using AI.
Yeah.
And in so many ways, that's kind of where I see our jobs moving to, is like
Yeah.
right now we're debugging WordPress. Our clients are going to be creating all new sorts of problems, all new categories of problems that they have no idea how to solve.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
thank you, AI.
Yeah.
Integrate AI as deep as possible into WordPress because we will learn it and understand it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. It's like if I started building I do want to build a shed, and I was like, I could just start building this myself. But I could see me getting to a point where I'm like, I totally screwed something up here. Now I have to bring in somebody,
Right.
to fix this. And yeah, I definitely don't want to be in that scenario. Uh,
And there's been other points in the WordPress lifespan where I have like celebrated all the problems that the core team has created.
yeah.
'Cause as an agency owner, I'm like, great.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Real quick, I just want to, I'm interested. I should have asked this earlier, but what is your, what is your, what is the workflow, the complete end-to-end workflow look like at your agency? Quickly highlight mine. When I was running my agency, of course, it was pre-sales, and then it was introduction to the project manager, get all that info, after the deal was closed, send it to the project manager onboards people. And then like from there, it was, okay, how many meetings are we having for this project? What's, Q&A look like? What does training look like? And then what does launch day look like? I'm curious, like, what does your path at the Mighty Mo look like from end to end?
I love this question. And Kurt and I talk about this a lot on our podcast with the WP Minute Plus Agency Action podcast. We have two types of clients at the Mighty Mo. One are, hey, I need something relatively small. It could be a hacked site. It could be something's broken. It could be they just want to change something. Maybe they just want support, know that there's support there ongoing. Maybe their site's slow. So these would go in the small category. And by small, usually it's a well-defined problem coming in. So they're like, I have this problem and we receive the email. We understand it immediately. We go, we can fix that. In those cases, the onboarding is quite simple. I will talk to my dev team. I'll get a quick price, and then I'll send an invoice for the entirety of the project. It's X amount of dollars, fixed bid. We got this. The other type of client we deal with is more of your bigger project. We need a design plus development. So we need a website designed and developed. Usually that's how they come in. And so in that case, I'll usually field the initial email because I have the contact form goes to me right now. And I'm doing an initial vetting on them. If it looks like a good fit, I will send it to my sales guy, Ryan, who then manages all the follow-up, all the meetings. And oftentimes I'll be in on those salesy meetings up until the point when the contract is signed, and Ryan manages all that. The invoice is paid and Ryan is involved in that, but I'm sending the invoice. So we're just collaborating closely on that process. And sometimes we'll talk with our project managers. We have a project manager for our big projects and a project manager for our small projects. And so with the big ones, we always talk to Julie and just kind of like sync up and be like, okay, we think this project is coming in. They said they're going to sign it. And then they sign it. And then Ryan will schedule a kickoff with me, Ryan, and the client. And sometimes the client could be 8 or 9 people. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 people in that initial kickoff call, but we'll do a kickoff. And Julie will be involved prior to that in setting the schedule. So when we show up at the kickoff, we're like, here's what we're seeing as the schedule. And from here on out, basically, Julie's going to be your point of contact. We're here as more or less account managers. Julie will manage it. Right now, we're using ClickUp. We switched recently, earlier this year, from Basecamp to ClickUp. So Julie will then create the tasks and ClickUp. She'll kind of manage the whole timeline. She manages all the client communication from there on out. I will QA things in the behind the scenes when needed. So oftentimes I'm not needed. Sometimes there's some weird question that my years of experience can help with. Usually it's a tech related question. Sometimes it's a business or scope related question that Julie raises. And then at the end, Julie's managing it all. And she'll be like, Toby, you need to send an invoice on this date because we hit the milestone. And to the point where we kick off, that's all managed by Julie. And generally, I'm not involved at all. Although we're always trying to upsell hosting, for example, upsell maintenance. And so usually we usually include that in the pitch, but they don't usually register initially that they need it, or, they'll just be like, can we talk about this later? Sure. So then end of the project is getting close. Then we start asking, okay, let's talk about hosting and maintenance and who's going to do what. And so while we did mention that very, very upfront, they've all forgotten about this. And now we're like, now it's pertinent. How would you like to proceed?
Yeah.
And then launch. And hopefully we have them as clients for the next 10 years. And we're fine with, hey, we just need like an hour a month for the next month. And we will start there. And our goal is to ramp up. We want to be involved. Anytime they have a website question, I want them to email us.
Yeah.
Whether it's today or 2 years from today.
Yeah. Very important to keep that, the kiss of death. I remember it in our business when I first started, especially early on, was that lack of communication. Because as soon as you stop, having that open communication, even if it's somebody that, excuse me, is not on a contract, like they're paying you, you still want to at least know that you want them to know you're alive and well to ask questions so that you don't fall out of sync. And it's when you do stop that kind of thing, or you're unwilling to give maybe a little bit of advice or something like that, that can really turn off a client who might have spent, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars with you on the original project.
Yeah. Well,
very important to keep that open.
Yeah. And Kurt and I always talk about this too, like on our podcast, that I have clients that have been paying me $100 a month, let's say, and they've paid me $20,000 over the life of that contract, and it's still going, that sort of thing. And maybe there's been little things here and there that maybe we billed for, maybe we didn't. I just think my goal is always long view with these people. I want to build relationships. One thing that's like silly that I believe works for keeping the iron hot is these automated reports that we send. So anyone we're doing maintenance for, we use Manage WP to kind of just manage the notifications on the maintenance. So that some of them will get a monthly report, and it's from me, from Toby at the Mighty Mo. Hey, here's the maintenance, signed Toby, your friend Toby. I'm not doing the work. A member of my team is doing it, but the client sees it. It comes from me. And I've been very surprised kind of how opaque that is to the clients. They think I'm emailing them.
Yeah.
Which is really good. It's kind of what I intended. And in a way, sure, I am. I know what it's being sent and all that, but it's an easy touch point. And I could see a scenario where, and maybe we'll do this even with clients that we aren't engaged in a monthly engagement. Like I could see using that same Manage WP notification thing, maybe with maybe it's just page speed, which is included in Manage WP. Like, here's your page speed that we just auto send it. Maybe it's a simple, just to keep that iron hot. I think that you're right. Like there's something there. How many times in your agency life have you had a client email you and say, all right, we had someone else design our next site. Well, we need to cancel hosting tomorrow.
Yeah. And every single one of those, I can point back to either mainly myself, but it could be somebody on the team at the time. like dropping the ball on communicating correctly or following up on something that you promised to follow up on. And yeah, I mean, 1 out of 10 might be something where it was just a bad fit from the beginning and you kind of felt it. And you
Mhm.
were just like, all right, fine. You can go somewhere else. But yeah, I can pinpoint that back to that, lack of communication and that willingness to talk to people.
I also
I,
think sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I don't think if you really want to survive, like if you're hearing Toby say things like, I'm thinking long term, and you're just like, oh man, I'm just trying to survive. I get that side of it. Like you're like, I get you need to just get another customer, but I don't think we have a choice but to be closer and more open to the customers in this highly competitive and now AI world that we're in.
Yeah, and I don't see a gap. I think they serve the same end, looking long term. Because long term, you're looking to build a relationship, and if even if you need short term dough, there's no harm in building a long term
Yeah, yeah,
relationship.
yeah. Well, speaking of long term, Gravity Forms has been around for a while. You've been around for a while. I was listening to you on the Agency Action podcast, and you were talking about how you leverage Gravity Forms for what I'll call lightweight e-commerce. I'll let you fill in the blanks on how you use it. And I was like, huh, I hadn't really thought about it like that, where agency owner has his core competency and what his team can do. Again, I'm just kind of paraphrasing. You're like, I'm not really taking on these big WooCommerce projects because it's just not really what I want to focus on. But if a lightweight e-commerce thing comes along, I slot in Gravity Forms or maybe something else. How do you use Gravity Forms day to day, or at least with the projects that you're working on?
I've been using Gravity Forms probably from the first year. I don't know when it started, but I've been using it forever, and it's always since that day. It's been the product that I trust most in the form universe. And early on, I started using it whenever they released their Stripe integration. That's when I started using it for e-commerce. So I don't know how many years ago, decades ago, probably. Um, I've been using it on the mightymo.com to collect a rather high percentage of client payments forever since it's been available. And I bet you I've collected, I want to say 100 grand at least. I mean, who knows? It could be multiples of that over the years, just through a simple, here's the invoice. It's not even an invoice. I go there, I use the URL parameters to say the website name or the dollar amount that they need to pay. Generally, it's just dollar amount. And it's a simple form with here's how much you need to pay. I send the URL via email. They click it, they pay. And by the way, our project managers use that exclusively. So that's how I took myself out of the whole bidding process for our current customers, is that my project manager will talk to our developer. So the client comes in, they say, I want this thing done. Let's say I need a slider here. The project manager will talk to the developer. Developer says that'll be 5 hours. The project manager just edits the dollar amount in the URL parameter, emails that to the client, says, click here and pay. As soon as it's paid, it notifies the project manager. She notifies the developer. We're rocking. I haven't touched it. And they're not at all involved with that. You can picture that workflow. They have no idea how much we're collecting overall. There's no, because I'm not ready to share that with my internal, team outside of my sales guy and lead project manager probably. But so it's like Gravity Forms to me, it's like the most transparent e-commerce system that I can think of. It doesn't do anything beyond what a form does. And I will say this, I don't know I think Gravity Forms acquired the image choices plugin recently. And recently they released the image feature. I think the image choices feature is part of the Gravity Forms. And I just got that in the most recent email from Gravity Forms, and I didn't know or forgot. And I said, this improves my e-commerce options with Gravity Forms, because now it's easy to say, do you want this product or that product? Click the product image, and it's more of like that e-commerce-y experience without any of the overhead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a feature that we built. We didn't acquire anything for it, but as you can imagine, it's a highly requested feature. And yeah, like it's amazing to hear, how you use that. Do you let the customer? So you don't set up, because I've had other agency owners on before, and what they've used Gravity Forms for as like a lightweight membership. I'll call it a membership thing, but we have the user registration add-on. You can send your customer there, register, create an account. And then when they create an account, you have just like an invoice page that they can go and pay stuff on. But you forego even that. And you just say, here's a link.
Right. Yeah.
This
We
link
don't,
is sent, and that's it.
exactly. We don't do any of that. And I think it's just been my preference. Like I've never
Sure.
wanted to buy into like a monolith like system that I then need to migrate. And so
Yeah.
right now, Stripe is the sole point of truth for our payment information. And I kind of wanted to keep it simple. And I should probably rethink that, because a workflow, like you said, using Gravity Forms even to create some basic invoicing type of stuff would probably be nice. Whether I want to do it, the thing that I always ask, this is like with that question, what am I gaining as an agency by adding that overhead? My gut reaction is nothing, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, so there's a lot of things you can do, especially if you start using like the Gravity Flow product, which is automation. It can fire webhooks and stuff like that. So I'm forgetting the gentleman's name and which episode it is on the Breakdown podcast, but I'll try to get it linked up in the show notes. But he builds a dashboard where you make the payment, and then once you make the payment, you now have access to a Gravity form that allows the customer to like upload their logos.
Yeah.
It kicks off that whole like workflow where it's like,
Mhm.
here's all the content we need, here's all the logos we need,
Yeah.
and it tracks it. And then his project manager simply replies to that, and then that updates like that user portal. So, if you wanted something where a customer could log in and see like actively what's happening, that's how I see a lot of people using it. But
I always think in general, human power is vastly underrated in our industry. So yeah, I could create that workflow that adds overhead, by the way, usually
Sure.
in bug fixing later. Some developer at some point will need to troubleshoot it, or me, and versus just saying, just email support at the Mighty Mo and we'll take care of you.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, by the way, I get it, because sometimes my clients will email me and say, where are these invoices? I didn't receive it, da, 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 da. And I have to do legwork, or somebody does. But I'm like, that legwork cost me $50 to do.
Yeah.
But that's not an investment in technology and overhead. It's just like, hey, we just do that when people ask. And,
Yeah.
I'm going to pay that $50 regardless, whether it's a tech investment or a whatever. And honestly, this is what I think, Matt, that a lot of people get wrong about this or don't even consider. I love the touch point of something broke, Toby. Let me fix it for you.
Yeah.
That to me is an amazing touch point with the client. Even if our code broke it, like, we can now fix this for you. We can get back to you right away over email. We can call you if needed. And tomorrow you have a solution. And now you have something to write on your Google review. I emailed them the next day. They fixed it, even if it was our fault to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy to, especially in tech, and now especially with AI, but even before AI, like automations, like all the stuff you can do with Gravity Forms, it's very easy to get lost in that and just be like, I can build all these things. I grew up in the car industry. My family owned car dealerships, and my grandfather was who started the businesses. He was a huge stickler on that customer experience. And it was all about how it was the most important thing in the entire dealership when it came to my grandfather, and then my father and his brothers after that, was how clean is this car on delivery? This car has to be spotless. That was the most important thing, that it's up front and center in front of the dealership, clean as a whistle. And it was the experience of that person coming in to take delivery of that car was paramount to everything in the business, because that's what the person, you've already done the sale. They've picked out their car. They've waited X amount, to get that car, and financing. And if they had to order it from the manufacturer, it took all that time. And they want to make sure, they want to know when they get that car, it's the best feeling in the world for them at that moment. And, that transcended when, side note, like when I started the agency, which I started with my father, like the experience was the thing that we always put first and foremost, which, it was a little tough in the agency world, but we had a great office. My dad had, had made like the meeting area beautiful. We had like these leather couches, this big screen TV. So when you came in to experience, like, we want to buy a website, because we did a lot of local businesses, people are like, oh my God, you're not just that, techie kid that we just met with at the coffee shop. You guys
Right.
are a real agency here. And
Hmm.
it's like, yes, this is the experience you're entering into. So, I
Yeah.
fully appreciate your approach.
Well, and I think your dad was right. And that even though I very rarely meet with clients, even on sales calls in person, usually I'm right here. You see how I'm meeting. That experience, it's like you're always communicating. Whatever you're doing, you're communicating.
Yeah.
And I really, um, I mean, your dad's spot on. And I'm saying, like, with my agency, I pay a close attention to how our team is communicating. One question I always ask my project managers is like, when's the last time you communicated with this client? Do they know exactly where they're at? Because they just, like, I think what you're describing, I think, is that people need to feel taken care of,
Yes.
whatever that means. So we do primarily online things, but, like, do they feel taken care of in a way that they would coming into your, hey, and most car dealers, by the way, understand this too. Oh, can I get you some coffee?
Yeah.
Would you like a cookie?
Yeah.
Like, come sit in
Yes,
our
in fact, I
fancy
would.
lounge here and
Yeah.
just hang out. There's
Yeah.
free Wi-Fi. It's great Wi-Fi. Just plug in. There's oh, you
Yeah.
need a charge? Here's a charger. Like, that's what I try to do at the Mighty Mo every day. And by the way, we fail all the time at this, but I try to notice when we fail, and I try to, um, that's something that I'm conscious of. I was
Yeah.
thinking too, this is unrelated to that, but related to gravity forms. I was thinking of one of the most complex gravity forms integrations, and this is silly again. We have a WooCommerce site that it's for a client, and they sell screen technology for large buildings. So you can picture, you go into the lobby of a large building. There's something that you have to, a touch screen that, um, you say, find, I'm looking for the dentist, Johnson Dentistry. You click that, it shows a different picture of where you need to go or whatever, a map. They have a very complex set of intake requirements for somebody who wants them to build a screen. And so we have WooCommerce, which you'd say to yourself, WooCommerce should be able to do this. It's the most developed e-commerce platform on the planet. We should be able to make a beautiful form that kind of does what we need with image choices and stuff. We used Gravity Forms for that. It
Yeah.
was technology we understood. It doesn't have, it's more transparent, I think, in the way that, like, you don't have to with Gravity Forms, you don't have to understand the layers of WooCommerce. WooCommerce, when you install WooCommerce, you get the marketing menu item, you get the product menu item. I think there's a third. It's like, and then in each of those, there's 10 links at least. And so let's say you just needed an intake form that kind of plugged into your, we're not collecting money either. We're just getting leads, and we're kind of treating them as sales up front, because it's like, we're basically sending a bid. Here's your $15,126 bid for this screen. And we found Gravity Forms was simpler, more transparent. When the client needs something like images, we can be like, we know how to do that in Gravity Forms. It's not,
Yeah.
it's just an add-on. It's not like, I don't know. And I don't trust the WooCommerce, I don't trust their add-on, or their extension. I just don't trust them
Ecosystem.
long-term
Yeah.
ecosystem. I don't
Yeah.
trust it long-term as much. And I don't know exactly why. It seems like the people building Gravity Forms add-ons are using them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the people building WooCommerce add-ons are like companies trying to sell add-ons.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I get it. That more, yeah, marketing approach. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Did you use it to replace WooCommerce, or did you use something like the Gravity Wiz shop configurator, which allows you to use Gravity Forms and then send that to WooCommerce?
It was that latter. So we used
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
plugin, maybe the Shop Wiz, I can't remember, but it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
something where we're like, we just need the form capabilities of Gravity Forms
Yeah,
strapped
yeah, yeah.
onto WooCommerce, because we
Yes.
actually wanted the order workflow to be part of our
Yes.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's way more magical, to use Gravity Whiz, one of their taglines. Um, and I get it, like the the essence of like inputting data and having like that structured thinking of like, okay, when somebody enters this, now show that, like that conditional logic. And I think, again, I mean, I know this is the breakdown podcast, but one of the great things about Gravity Forms is if it's that if it's that glue to like your user interface, it then allows you to be a little bit more flexible because you can say, okay, maybe now that customer doesn't want to use WooCommerce anymore. We have this logic here in Gravity Forms, and now we can just spit this out to something else, right? It allows,
Mhm.
or I can tie it into, let's say, Zapier or their Mailchimp account or their Salesforce account, and Gravity Forms allows you to do that, sort of like that continuity thing that we talked about, earlier in the show. It's like it's an assurance or insurance. I don't know which one to use there, but it's that level of trust where you go, I've built this. If my developers come and go, I have like this fundamental piece of technology where I can just show somebody, okay, it's a no code solution. It's called Gravity Forms. Here's how you do it. Customer
Mhm.
comes and goes. You can switch that to another, or a customer's employee comes and goes. You can kind of teach them, okay, new employee at this customer comes in. I can teach you how to do this. And it's not always like custom code or like, oh, I bought the most bleeding edge, WooCommerce add-on and now I'm stuck with it because
Mhm.
I don't know what it's doing.
Yeah.
Um,
The other thing I
yeah.
think that I like about Gravity Forms, and I'll just say I like it about Gravity Forms. The Gravity Forms seems to do things the WordPress way more so than other form plugins I've experienced. They don't take over the interface in the same way that some of those others do, and it just seems like, okay, I know where to click. There's a add new button at the top, whereas some others I'm like, we inherit client sites. I'm like, where do I even create a new form?
Well, of course, the team's going to love hearing that when this episode goes out. He's Toby Cryns. You can find him at themightymo.com, themightymo.com. I think I went to a restaurant right underneath that Grain Belt beer sign
Oh yeah.
when uh
Uh,
what was that, a word camp that I went
sure.
to?
There
Might have
was,
been,
well, no, you were at, you might have
oh,
been
it's
to a word
Prestige
camp.
Conf.
Prestige Conf, yes. Mhm.
Right, right. Themightymo.com, Toby Cryns. Anywhere else you want folks to go to say thanks?
You can find me on LinkedIn, uh, Toby Cryns, and you can DM me if you have questions. I do weekly-ish webinars about how to SEO stuff. So Google Search Console, Google Analytics, that sort of thing.
Fantastic. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.